So thank you everyone for joining today's meetup. It's on establishing the coaching agreement. Can you see the whole screen, or is the whole presentation is okay?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay. So today's topic is one of the coaching competency, and it's a foundational coaching competency to establish the coaching agreement. And it's very basic when we start working with any client, either as an internal coach or external coach, or as a Scrum Master, or in any of the new role, we can establish this coaching agreement so that there is alignment with respect to how we are going to work together between different people involved with respect to one product or one goal. So we'll just talk about what coaching agreement is, what kind of coaching agreements we can create. We'll look into some technique, and then after this, Marriott and I will do a little bit of demo onto how to create a coaching agreement, and then we'll do the activity. We have the activity, we'll send people in the breakouts, we'll practice creating coaching agreement, and then we'll come back and share our learnings. So my introduction, my name is Savita. I am an Agile coach and mentor. I have experience working in startups and big financial organizations, mostly into distributed and multicultural environments. I'm certified enterprise coach from Scrum Alliance and associate certified coach from ICF, and working for my BCC. So if anyone wants to get some free coaching, please let me know. I have to log my hours. Marriott, over to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Savita. Okay, my name is Mariette. I'm an Agile Catalyst coach and change enable. I have been working with individuals and also teams in different organizations. So the intention here is to help all those different people to become a better version of themselves. And I have been doing this since 2003. In terms of experience, I have been working for organizations, small, like startups, to Fortune 500 organizations. I have experience also with public and private organizations, working face-to-face and also remotely with different type of teams. In terms of actual experience, I have been assisting or helping teams in Canada most recently, but in the past in the US, New Zealand, Australia, UK, Venezuela, and also Switzerland. You can see my details in there in case you want to get connected with me. And without further ado, maybe we can get started with the actual content. Thank you, Sarita. So we said that the actual topic for the current meetup is about establishing the coaching agreement, but obviously, if we're going to be talking about a coaching agreement, the very first step for all of us is to understand what is this. So according to the ICF, the coaching agreement is understanding what is required in the specific coaching interaction and to come to an agreement with a prospective and new client about the coaching process and relationship. So going back to the statements that Sarita shared earlier today, the intention here is to have a clear understanding of what to expect from both parties. So it will be from the coach, what to expect from the client, and from the client, what to expect from the coach. So everything needs to be like super clear. In the same fashion as when we get married and we establish this marriage kind of contract, and you're supposed to be loyal and be a good husband or a good wife. In the same, in every single kind of expectation is declaring that document, and you sign on top of that. Is very important for the coach and also the client to have a similar kind of agreement here. Every coach-client relationship is different. same as in the case of a marriage, right? So if you want to incorporate some extra documents there to say you're not getting any of my money, for instance, if we divorce, or if you go to another with another woman, forget it and get in the house, you can incorporate all those special kind of items in there. So again, the idea is, given that every relationship is different, to get a very specific understanding of what is going to be happening, so there are no surprises here. Okay, any questions up to this point? No questions?
I just want to add few points with respect to coaching agreement. So the easier way to look at it is when you start working with the team or leaders, you may look from different perspective what kind of agreement you want to build in. For example, there might be few points related to creating the atmosphere or the culture. What kind of culture you want to build in your team, and what kind of partnership you would like to have. If anyone does not follow the set agreement, then how you can remind them about the culture. Then the second category could be co-responsibility of the work. Who is going to do what and who you can count on when there is a problem, or what's the commitment for one another with respect to completing the work in the team. And the third category I would like to introduce is behavioral agreements. Like, what are the ground rules if conflict happens in the team? Who will help in the decision making if everyone is struggling? Or what kind of behavior or agreement you have with your teams uh, who you are dependent to with respect to completing the work. So there are so many perspectives to look into while creating the coaching agreement. I like what I do with my teams. I always add fun part as well. I always ask them, okay, how you are going to include fun in the workplace. So they come up with different ideas with respect to that, and we'll just add in the coaching agreement. Um,
Yeah, so on top of what Savita mentioned, also keep in mind that there is always an opportunity to go back to your agreement, okay? So you might get started either with one single individual, with one agreement, one version of your agreement, or with your team, with one version of your agreement. But as you start working together and understanding better where are the pain points, or where are the points of improvement of the team, or you realize, I would say the team realize that there is something missing in the agreement, you can get back there, have a conversation as a team with your coach, and then that person is going to assist you to on how you can get this agreement updated in the proper way, where every single voice is heard. And this is the key here. Okay. So again, this is a living kind of artifact, very powerful and very important to get the best version at the beginning of your relationship, just to avoid any misunderstanding. Cool.
Thank you, Mariette. So we can do a little bit of exercise. So I will try to create a agreement with Mariette here. Um, so maybe I will just take a, I will just take the notes here while doing the exercise so that everyone can see. Okay. I don't need this. This is better. So Mariette, she is my new client and I am the coach. Thank you so much, Mariette, for joining the agreement session today. And I would
Thank you,
really
Savita.
appreciate that we both want to spend some time to come up to some alignment so that we can start our work. So, Period, please let me know what kind of culture you want to create for us to work together.
Good question. I would love to feel that I can trust you and tell you and talk about everything with you. I feel that if that environment is not in there, I'm gonna struggle every time we talk, trying to make a decision whether or not I can tell you something or I cannot tell you something. So it will be trust, it will be openness,
Yeah.
openness. Um, it will be good if I don't feel like I'm judged.
Non.
Sometimes during the sessions, upcoming sessions, I might share with you a bunch of crazy things I have done in my life. So, and I'm very tired that my relatives are always complaining about that. So this is the last place where I want to hear those things as well, if possible. Yeah.
And how would,
A-
yeah.
And of course, if you can share something with me and or point out something and share that with me, it will be awesome. Not just be quiet there receiving all the information. It will be cool to get some sort of feedback time to time.
Okay, open feedback.
Uh, yeah, please, but gentle. Don't be too
Okay.
tough. Thank you. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm having a lot of stress days, so it's
Yeah.
very stressful for me these days. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Mariette. So, how would you know that we have trust and openness in our relationship?
Um, oh my goodness. So I would say if you are not sharing what we say during the session with somebody else, so I think I will be able to trust you. And if you're not talking to my peers and then say, hey, Maria told me this or told me that.
No back.
In this company, things are like very tough and yeah, yeah, yeah.
No back pitching or no.
Yeah, exactly,
I would just
exactly.
write down these words.
That's okay. Yeah, yeah. I think that will be if I again if I don't know if you're sharing stuff with some other people, it's gonna be fine. Yeah,
Okay, fine.
yeah.
I understand that. And
Mm-hmm.
it's a fair point to share
Mm.
to build a trust. I should come to you for every point instead of talking to all the people around you.
Yeah, please,
Yeah.
please. Yeah.
Okay. So, uh, how do you want to be working together when things get difficult in the workplace?
Hmm. Well, I usually cry like every day. Well, mostly these days because my boss is like a pain. I'm not gonna say it. So if I'm crying and if you can give me some time to recover and get back to my that will be awesome. I wouldn't want to just stop the session. I think that's one of my main issues that I'm always I try to put my tough face all the time, and then when I'm pretty sure that if I start sharing things, I'm gonna be crying. That's what I do all the time
Mhm.
at home with my kids and everybody. So yeah, it's kind of crazy these days.
And I totally understand that because every time we go through too many things in our personal life and at work, and there is a stress coming up from so many different directions. So I really appreciate that you shared what works for you when things get difficult. I will definitely provide that space so that you get enough time to recover when things get difficult.
Oh, thank you so
Yeah.
much. And one more thing, if we can, while we're having this conversation, keep it like I would love to see that you are actually paying attention to what I'm saying. I get like super frustrated when I'm talking to people and they're just checking the phone in the office and
No
doing all this.
multitasking.
Yeah, please. We can just focus on this.
Mhm.
Yeah, that will be really appreciated.
Okay.
Hmm.
That's great. So I promise I won't do multitasking while talking to you.
Thank you so much. It's not like you're checking Facebook or Instagram and like I'm gonna feel like super bad. I already have that issue with my son. He's like, and he's a teenager, and every time I talk to him, he doesn't even look at my eyes. He's always like looking at the phone, like, yeah, mom, and things like that. So, yeah, no, crazy.
Just one last question from my side. So if any time in future we have a conflict between us,
Mm-hmm.
how would you like to tackle it?
Oh boy, that's a pretty difficult question. That's pretty difficult because I can be like very. It's not like I'm gonna be accepting things from somebody else. I mean, I have that history. That's one of my issues that I would love to work on. That I just go with what I want to do, and I don't pay that much attention to what
Mhm.
other people are suggesting if I don't believe on that, right? So, wow, that's a pretty difficult question. So, I would say that why don't we just take a few minutes, park it for a few minutes, and then we revisit the issue, if
Mhm.
if any, because sometimes it's just my reaction, my quick reaction to say no, 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 I don't want that. But if I take a deep breath and you give me a couple of minutes, I can kind of digest, and we can get to a point where we're both happy. So that might work for me.
So I'll provide you some space to digest and
Mm-hmm.
ventilate the issue and then book some time to have open conversation with you.
Yeah,
How does it sound?
sounds perfect. And if that doesn't work, we can try something else. Is that possible in your practice?
Yeah, sure. We can always come back to it and see whether it all these things are working between us or we need something else.
Okay. I mean, that sounds awesome. That sounds
Yeah.
like pretty cool. And very important. I'm very picky with the time.
Mhm.
So if we can start on time, and if we are ending 1 hour, is 1 hour, because I
Mm.
really appreciate my time. That will be cool.
Okay. I appreciate you sharing all these things up front and thank you so much, Marriott. I'm really looking forward to work with you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we are no more in the scenario. Now it's time for you to do a bit of exercise.
I think
Um,
we have a question here.
okay,
Yeah.
go to the question.
I had a question around three-way contract. I need some assistance around. I don't want to impact the flow if we are covering later.
So maybe, so we have this section of talking about individual versus system contract. So maybe
Mhm.
Marriott, you go into it and then we can touch the three-way and then we'll go to exercise.
Sorry, repeat that again.
So we have this section to talk about individual versus system
Mhm.
agreement. So we'll touch base on that because it will help us into understanding the three-way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yes, 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 yes. Okay.
So I can start and then you can jump in. So
Mhm.
what we did right now between me and Marriott, it was creating an individual contract. So she was my client and I was the coach. And we talked about how the things will work between both of us. Creating the agreement with the entire system means you are going to work with one team or multiple teams for one product. It's kind of a big system. So when we create the agreement with the system, you can simply ask all these questions, but you need to have all the people part of that system to be part of this conversation. And you would ask these questions to everyone and come to a consensus. So if suppose out of 10 people in the room, 5 people want openness and other 5 people don't want openness, so you have to check back to them, okay, what kind of culture we want to have, whether it's openness or not openness. And whatever they decide, we'll capture that. So the questions will remain the same. It's more about we have to add one layer of alignment between multiple people of the system involved. Yeah. So there is another thing. So we talked about individual agreement, then coach with the system. Then there are third parties involved sometimes. So suppose I am a coach and I have a sponsor at the client location who pays me to work with a team. So now it's three-way. There are three parties involved. Okay. So I have to create agreement with my sponsor, and I have to create agreement with the team, but I also have to create an agreement between the sponsor and the team. Because how the sponsor is going to provide support to the team, it's the agreement between the sponsor and the team. Okay. And there is added complexity. We have to make it very clear is that if team is in a struggle, at what point me being the coach should inform the sponsor, and we have to flush it out with all the parties involved. Okay? So we have to actually do the agreement exercise 2-3 times with the sponsor, with the team, then the sponsor and the team together. Does that answer the question?
You can comment for the person that asked the question. You can.
So in this scenario, the particular challenge that I'm facing is I'm coaching a particular person, but the sponsor is the person who the coachee is reporting to. So all the contracts or all the agreements that we had, some of it, there is a potential that, you know, some of the understanding between the coach and the coachee could get violated because the sponsor in this case is the person whom the coachee is actually reporting.
Hmm. And is there an agreement between the sponsor and the reportee?
There is an agreement, but it gets a bit violated when it comes to quarterly reviews, things like that.
Okay.
Right.
So,
and then
yeah.
from my perspective, I need to be transparent to the sponsorer, but I need to keep a very thin line between, you know, what should I share or what should I not share, because in essence, I'm providing status for the coaching engagement.
Yeah.
So that's where it's getting down to. In terms of individual agreements, no issues, no challenges. But around this three-way contract, particularly when the sponsor is also the boss or the supervisor of the coachee, that is where the challenge is.
Yeah. So I see that you have an underlying agreement established.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that when it reaches to few events, people are not able to follow it. So
Yes.
maybe this is the time for you to bring this agreement back to the team and the sponsor and ask them, this is your observation, or maybe just ask them that, do you see, are we able to follow this? Do you see, have we deviated in the past in any event? So they might come up with the problem. If not, then you can share your observation and ask them, okay, if this kind of event happen again in the future, how we are going to tackle it together. Okay? So I feel like it's just a little bit of modification required to revisit it again.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
Okay. Is there any other question before we move to exercise? So I will share this in the chat, but maybe I can explain a little bit about the exercise. So the exercise is, we are going to divide people into smaller groups, like 5 to 6 people into one group. And one person needs to volunteer to become the coach and facilitate the discussion to capture the coaching agreement. And you can take notes on the chat or in your notepad or on a Word document, whatever you would like to do. Rest of the people will play the role of the team members, and it could be any people, developers, testers, BAs, or whatever. Don't need to go too specific, but just imagine that there is a team in place. So the scenario is you have been asked to start coaching a team that will be building a brand new system that will be used to train kids with ages between 8 and 11 years old. So this is the context. The product is the system to train kids between age of 8 and 11 years. Okay. And you are assigned as a coach, and this is a new team. Are we clear on that? Okay, so I stop sharing my screen. I will paste this exercise here in the chat so that it will remain with you when you go into the breakout rooms. And how many people do we have?
9.
Okay, so 10 people into 2 breakout rooms. I am sending you for 10 minutes to do this exercise, and then we'll come back and do the debrief. Okay.
So again, first step, identify your coach. The rest will be the team.
Okay,
Cool.
so in each team, you will have 4 team members and 1 coach. Okay, okay, here you go for 10 minutes. Not enough time. Okay, what else?
A little bit of confusion whether it was specific to any particular set of agile coaching or just life coaching or any other sort of, this coaching discussion itself.
Mm-hmm. And how does it matter whether it's agile coaching or life coaching?
Yes, obviously our thought process gets inclined towards a particular scenarios, especially in my case. I was trying to portray the examples which I am facing in my project. So I'm not thinking any other sort of coaching as per se.
So, and one another question was like, is the coach a part of the team or coach is a separate person outside the team? That also we got confused.
So let's go these questions one by one. The first one, just a comment that the time was not sufficient. Yes, it was just an activity to get the glimpse of how we do it in the real world. But definitely when we go into real teams, you probably need more time. Half an hour to 1 hour depends on how big the system is. Usually it takes more than half an hour. That's the minimum.
Yeah, we have the other question. Nida, I think you asked the question if the coach is part of not. For those that are not aware of this, when it comes to the coaching agreement, you can have 2 flavors. One is the individual version of the coaching agreement, and the other one is the system agreement. So when it comes to the one single individual, we might guess already what is this about. You have one coach and you have one client. Okay, you establish the agreement between these 2 parties. The second flavor, when you have the coach and you have the system, now your client is not one single individual, but instead it's a group of people inside there. And it can get as complex as you can imagine. Okay. In this very specific example, the system was essentially that entire team the coach was assisting to create the coaching agreement. And as the actual title states, like the coaching agreement between the coach and the system, or the coach and the client, implies that the coach is not part of the system and the coach cannot be part of the client or be involved with the client. You need to step back and look at the entire team as a one single system to address all these different conversations. Okay, cool. Any other comments or observations?
Yeah, I think just to that, and we started down, I think, more the path of a team agreement before kind of stepping back and going, actually, this is a coaching agreement, like it says in the last line of the scenario, going back and reading it now, where it says create a coaching agreement. So it's where it should be between the coach and the system, like you said. So I think we just lost a little bit of time thinking about a team agreement versus a coaching agreement. Would you see it as a good, like if the team doesn't have a team agreement in place, would you go for the coach agreement first and then move into the team agreement?
Before we get to
does that question make sense?
Yeah, before we get into the difference between one and the other, I would like to know if everybody here understand what is that team contract and what is that coaching agreement between the coach and the team. Can someone articulate this for us that knows about this? Because we're playing with two different artifacts here, two type of different documents that are elements that we need to create in here. But first we need to understand what is one thing and what is the other thing. What is the difference? What are the difference between one and the other? Do we know?
Maybe I'll try to attempt answering this question. So team agreement would be mostly between the Scrum Master facilitating the agreement with the team. And the team essentially decides what works with them, what doesn't work with them, or topics very similar to what we discussed in coaching agreement. So the team draws the boundary. Now, when the conflict becomes unmanageable or there are certain topics where they perhaps need an external facilitator to help, that's perhaps where the coaching agreement comes in place, and the coach can then intervene based on the boundaries that have been outlined in the coaching agreement.
Anyone has a different opinion about what was just shared by Shabir, I think is his name?
I think I don't know the first half an hour background, but I can say from my experience what I know. Individual coaching between coach and coachee, if it is initiated by coachee for a specific scenario related to team or not related to team. So during that part of the discussion, coachee and coach will have that coaching coaching working agreement for that session, which coach will make sure that the coachee understands, and then that particular session will happen. The team agreement is something that coach or Scrum Master will initiate or encourage or empower the team to have those working agreements in place so they can better collaborate and work together as one unit. So those agreements are always in place and team respects those agreements while working with each other. So in the scenario, there are two ways help can be needed. So in the scenario, team feels that someone needs to intervene and help, then they will approach coach and coach will help a unit as a team, or maybe address individual one person, or coach will decide, because if I'm a coach and if I'm looking at the team maturity over a period of time, and if I see that team needs additional coaching because of the maturity or because of the results what they're expecting from the team, then me as a coach will take the decision, hey, that this particular team might need some more coaching session. But I'm talking here mainly in context of Agile, where the coach will initiate and say the team will need more coaching. But if it is a personal coaching, mostly coachee will initiate when he needs a specific help from coachee based on what he wants outcome from that session.
Okay. So basically, in a nutshell, just to summarize, when we are talking about the team contract, it will be just to establish how the relationship will kind of run between the members of the system. So in that case, because the coach is not part of the system, what is going to happen is that all these different things that we need to accommodate around those interactions, the people that will have a say as of how they want to operate together and how their relationship is supposed to be established, it will be only the members of the system saying this is the way how we want to work. So if I was the coach for this, for you guys, and the rest of you are my system, I'm gonna be asking like how you guys want to work together. That will be established that, okay? While when I'm doing a coaching agreement, it will be how we're going to operate, meaning you guys as a system against myself. Okay, so two different things. One is between the members of the system. The other one is between the coach and the rest of the system. I'm sorry, and the system. Okay, so just to clarify on that. You want to comment anything, Savita, or add something
No,
in there?
I'm totally aligned with that. It's
Okay.
easier to just look into if you are doing one-on-one coaching, you create an agreement with the individual person. But when you are doing group coaching, you have as a coach one agreement with the entire group or entire system. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay.
Just going back to the sort of the original question there was around if that team agreement isn't in place, do you try to create your coaching agreement with the system before the system has an agreement, or would you encourage them to come up with their own agreement first, or does it matter in which order they go?
Generally, it does not matter, but when you start working with a new team, the first thing is to establish your agreement with the team, how you are going to work. When you start working with them, if they don't have any agreement in place, you can initiate the discussion or facilitate the discussion. Or if they already have some agreement in place, you can just revisit it and try to accommodate the feedback if the update is required.
But it has something to add. And
Yeah.
a question for everybody here. Why do you think, if the team is brand new, like the exercise we put together, why do you think it's good to start with first the agreement between the system and the coach? Why do you think that makes sense? Is there any specific reason? Because there's a good reason why. Any ideas? Come on.
Otherwise, when I go to coach the team and try to get them to come to coalesce, how should I do that if I don't know how we're supposed to relate?
Exactly, you got it. That's the answer. So basically what we're saying here is that if you're supposed to be assisting a system with a bunch of different characters, ideas, and individuals in there, the first step is that you need to understand how you can assist that system, how the system will get comfortable with you approaching the system. Okay, if you don't have those rules like super clear, what's going to happen is that if I start putting together the team contract, I might have some weird and uncomfortable situations and interactions in there because I don't know what the system is expecting from me. Okay, I might be just going with what I'm assuming, and assumptions in coaching, that's not good. The only thing that you can assume from coaching is that your client or your system knows exactly where they want to go. But in terms of what they're expecting from you and things like that, it's better to be like super clear. No assuming that you know exactly what they need. Okay.
So in this regard, from the ICF coaching competency perspective, this is the first step. This is the very first step.
Yeah, and it's critical. You can see many, if we take this to the Agile Coach working in a company kind of environment, most of the problems you get and in the fact that sometimes your clients or in the company said, oh, I don't like that coach, or I didn't see any value in working with a very specific coach, is because the coach get into the organization expecting to do something, and the organization is expecting that you're going to be, I just give you an example, a magician, and you are not a magician, right? So you better set real clear expectations so there are no people being disappointed at the end. Sometimes you are disappointed as a coach because you were expecting something from the organization, and sometimes your organization is disappointed because they were expecting that transformation will be done like this. Okay, so get like very clear about what you can do and what do you need to go and move forward, and the same for the other parties. Okay, no problems, no surprises. Any other observation or question? around the exercise.
One quick question over here.
Mhm.
During the session, if being as a coach, if he or she is not able to provide any reasonable answer to coachee or for the particular problem, then how should this create an impression of whether coach is able to solve our problem or not, or he is just here to listen to our things, right? So my question is like, how coach would be able to cater to all kinds of problems and their suggestion of their solutions to coaching?
Can I take a step on this?
Yes,
So
please.
it's related to the basic definition of coaching. So coach is not responsible to solve all the problems for the client. Coach is responsible to reflect these problems to the client and enable them and help them to solve their own problems. And it's a very good point, because this might be one of the point in your coaching agreement. You have to make very, very clear, what are you supposed to do? Okay. And I'm not saying when it comes to agile coaching experience, sometimes you have to provide some suggestions from your past experience. That's
Yeah.
okay, but you are not going.
Then you become the consultant. Sorry to
Yes.
say. Yeah.
Yeah, but in
Mhm.
that case also, you are not solving the problem for them. They are the doers. You are the facilitator. So you have to make it very,
Exactly.
very distinct.
Yeah.
So what you can say is something as part of your agreement, say that, okay, there will be scenarios where if required, you can provide some tools or you can provide some resources or guidelines and things like that to help. But the actual, as Sarita mentioned, the actual doers, the owners of any action item in an upcoming or future plan, meaning accountable and responsible, are going to be the members of the system. You are just an enable, just to assist them and point it out that, okay, this is, let's keep going, or identify any, help them to identify any issues or identify possible solutions to problems, okay? But you are not the one that is actually doing that, okay? And that is one of the, again, going back to what I mentioned before, that's one of the biggest problems right now when it comes to agile coaches, that people in the organizations, they're expecting you to go there and then basically brainwash the employees in the organization and make them now have an agile mindset and believe whatever you say and start practicing everything and understand every single tool. So that is the tricky part. Okay.
Okay, so we have 3 minutes. Do we have more questions here?
Yeah, I have one question.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so how would it work with the multiple teams? For example, say I'm an RTE in safe environment. There are like 5 teams, and I go there as a coach. So system is 5 teams, or system is 1 team, 5 teams.
5
So
teams.
if I set up an agreement, I have to involve all 5 teams together to
Yes.
set up a system, right? Including program managers and everyone involved throughout the art. Okay, cool. Okay,
That's your whole system.
whole
And
system, all right.
sometimes in terms of group coaching, you might have hundreds of people.
Yeah, that was coming on to the
And there are multiple facilitation techniques which you can use to facilitate the conversation. But if agreement is between you and the system, you have to cover the system. There is no way out.
No way out.
Whether you do it, whether you do it in multiple smaller sessions and then converge, or you do it together, everyone use some big group facilitation techniques. It's up to you to find out, and we can talk about this. Is a very interesting topic. We can talk about this in our upcoming meetups.
Yes,
great.
for sure.
As I said, there is no way out. If
No way out.
system is big, you have to
Exactly.
work with bigger system.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Thank you.
And sometimes it might be hard to do it everybody together also, right?
Yeah. especially virtually now, 100
Yeah.
people on the call. It's gonna be difficult.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
that's why you can start creating the agreement with your sponsor to say that, okay, my system is big and sometimes you have to have all the people in the room for some kind of discussions, so that they won't get the heart attack when you send invite for 100 people.
Yeah, because that's going to be a very, remember, organizations, they see every single meeting as an expense, right? So if you bring like 50, sometimes you have 100 people, you name it, that's a very expensive meeting. Very expensive. Okay.
cool. Yeah, thank you.
Okay,
I haven't.
yeah.
Sorry, I have another question, but for next time. We're
No,
over the time now. Yeah.
okay, we can stay here, me and Marriott, but I won't let everyone to stay after 7:30.
Yes.
But we can stay for a few more minutes. So
Okay.
thank you everyone for joining. I would like to collect some topics which you would like us to bring in for upcoming meetups. So I will share the presentation and recording and the link where you can put in your ideas and get assigned some votes. We can do it offline, not
By the
necessarily.
way, I would love to take a picture of all of you. So if you can just turn on your cameras and so I can see your faces, that will be awesome. So yeah, you got it, Sudeep. And I think, do I have everybody? Skip and Aaron, are you sharing? Awesome. Thank you, Skip. And I'm missing Aaron. Did you get your hair done today, Aaron? No, he didn't. Okay, that's